Have you ever looked back on a moment and thought, why did I let that get to me? Maybe it was someone's careless comment, a traffic jam, or an unexpected setback. And yet, in that moment, your emotions dictated your actions, maybe even your entire day. But here's a question. If someone else can control your mood with just a word, who's really in charge of your life? In a world where everyone is quick to react, true power belongs to those who can pause, breathe, and choose their response. That's the essence of emotional control, not suppressing what you feel, but mastering how you use it. If you're ready to stop letting your emotions control you and start mastering your mind, this speech is for you. And before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, because every week we explore ways to build strength, resilience, and a mindset that no one can shake.
1. How emotions lead us. Emotions are not your enemy. They are signals. Fear tells you to be cautious. Anger alerts you to injustice. Joy tells you that something matters to you. Sadness points toward what you value and perhaps have lost. The problem is not the emotion itself, it's when the emotion drives the car instead of sitting in the passenger seat. When emotions take the wheel, logic and clarity get shoved into the back seat, and your direction can quickly veer off course. Think about the last time you acted out of pure impulse. Maybe you sent that text you regretted, raised your voice in frustration, or made a purchase you couldn't really afford. In those moments, you weren't leading your emotions were leading you. They weren't whispering, they were shouting commands, and you obeyed without pause. While emotions are fast-moving currents, they don't have to sweep you away. You can learn to navigate them instead of drowning in them. Stoic philosophy teaches that while we cannot control external events, we can always control our response to them. That doesn't mean suppressing what you feel, it means refusing to let those feelings dictate your behavior without examination. When you let emotions dictate your choices, you give away your power. But when you notice them, name them, and then decide what to do, that's when you reclaim it. This is the essence of emotional leadership, allowing feelings to inform your decisions, but never to command them. Many people misunderstand the Stoic approach, thinking it calls for emotional numbness. In reality, Stoics didn't seek to erase emotion, but to master it, to ensure that feelings were advisors, not rulers. Marcus Aurelius felt frustration, grief, and fear, but he trained himself to observe them as passing impressions, not ultimate truths. He understood that emotions are like weather, temporary, shifting, and often misleading when taken as the sole guide for action. Let's be honest, there is a seductive comfort in letting emotions lead. Anger makes you feel powerful. Fear makes you feel safe in avoidance. Joy makes you feel justified in indulgence. But unchecked, each of these can become destructive. Anger without reason becomes cruelty. Fear without challenge becomes paralysis. Joy without discipline becomes recklessness. Mastery lies in feeling fully, but choosing wisely. Training yourself to lead your emotions starts with awareness. You must become an observer of your own inner climate. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling it? Is this feeling giving me accurate information, or is it reacting to assumptions, past wounds, or imagined scenarios? The more you slow down this process, the more control you gain. In time, you begin to notice the space between the spark of feeling and the flame of action. And in that space, you become free.
2. Responding versus reacting. A reaction is fast, emotional, and often messy. A response is measured, intentional, and rooted in reason. The difference might seem small, but it can completely change the outcome of any situation. A reaction is like firing an arrow the moment you see movement without checking if it's a threat or a friend. A response is like aiming deliberately, assessing the target, and only releasing when you know it's right. Imagine someone insults you in public. A reaction might be to lash out immediately, throwing words or even physical aggression back at them. This escalates the situation, handing over your composure as if it were theirs to own. A response, on the other hand, might be to keep your composure, address the comment calmly, or even walk away entirely. One path leads to regret and potential chaos. The other leads to respect, both from others and from yourself. Here's the key. The space between stimulus and action is where your power lies. Most people rush to fill that space without thought because silence or hesitation feels uncomfortable. But training yourself to pause in that space changes everything. Even a deep breath, literally, one inhalation and exhalation, can be enough to shift you from reacting to responding. In that pause, you move from being a puppet of emotion to being a director of choice. Reacting is often driven by the survival brain, the part wired for fight, flight, or freeze. This is invaluable when facing immediate danger, but in modern life, most threats are social, emotional, or imagined. Your nervous system can't tell the difference unless you train it to. Responding, therefore, is an act of re-educating the mind and body to slow down, assess, and act with intention. A Stoic understands that every reaction writes part of your character. You can't erase those moments. They shape how people see you and how you see yourself. By choosing to respond rather than react, you protect not just the outcome of the moment, but the ongoing story of who you are becoming. You turn every provocation into practice for self-mastery. Start with small moments. If you spill coffee on yourself, don't curse immediately. Observe your first impulse and let it pass before you speak. If a colleague interrupts you, don't snap back. Pause, acknowledge the interruption, and redirect with calm authority. These little victories build the muscle of responsiveness. Over time, they prepare you for the bigger tests, arguments, betrayals, sudden crises. By then, responding will be second nature, and reacting will feel like an outdated habit you've outgrown.
3. Building emotional vocabulary. You can't control what you can't understand. That's why one of the most powerful tools for emotional mastery is expanding your emotional vocabulary. If every negative feeling is just, "I'm upset," you'll never know how to address it. The mind can only work with the distinctions it can name. The finer the distinctions, the more precise your self-awareness and your actions become. Instead of just saying, "I'm angry," try identifying the nuance. Are you frustrated because things aren't moving fast enough? Are you disappointed because someone failed to meet your expectations? Are you betrayed because trust was broken? Are you hurt because you feel unappreciated? Each emotion has its own cause and requires its own approach. The more precisely you can name it, the more clearly you can see the solution. Precision is power. People who have a rich emotional vocabulary tend to manage their inner world far better because they're not dealing with vague storms, they're dealing with specific weather patterns. If you know it's a drizzle, you don't panic like it's a hurricane. If you know it's fog, you slow down instead of slamming the brakes. Words give you the ability to gauge intensity and adjust accordingly. A limited vocabulary forces you into blunt emotional responses. Someone who can only label feelings as good or bad is like a painter with only black and white. They miss the depth, the complexity, and the opportunities for nuance. But someone with a wide emotional vocabulary can navigate subtle changes in mood and respond with far greater wisdom. They can tell the difference between irritation and resentment, between sadness and grief, between excitement and anticipation. Developing this skill takes practice. Keep a journal where you write down what you feel and then search for the most accurate word to describe it. Use tools like an emotion wheel to find precise labels. Over time, this practice rewires your awareness. You stop lumping everything together and start seeing the texture of your emotional life. Stoics valued clarity of thought, and clarity begins with clarity of language. If you can't name your state, you're likely to be ruled by it. But when you can say, "I feel anxious because I fear losing control of this project," you turn a vague discomfort into a specific challenge you can address. Words are not just descriptors, they are instruments of self-command. The more refined your vocabulary, the more refined your responses, and the more mastery you hold over the most unpredictable part of human nature, your own emotions.
4. Stoic strategies. Stoicism isn't about becoming emotionless, it's about becoming unshakable. The Stoics understood that emotions themselves are not the enemy. They are natural, unavoidable responses to the world. The real question is whether those emotions govern you or you govern them. True Stoic strength comes from learning to feel deeply while still acting rationally. They sought not to eliminate the waves of feeling, but to master the art of steering their ship no matter how turbulent the waters became. First, practice the view from above. This is more than a visualization exercise. It's a deliberate act of perspective. Imagine soaring above your current moment, seeing yourself as just one individual in a vast, interconnected world. From up there, the petty argument you had, the traffic jam, the missed email, all shrink into their proper scale. This mental zoom out reminds you that you are part of something far bigger than today's frustration. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the cosmic scale of time and space to dissolve his ego and irritations. When you adopt this perspective, the power of small annoyances evaporates because you recognize they were never that big to begin with. Second, there's premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. At first glance, this sounds negative, but it is actually one of the most empowering exercises a person can do. It involves anticipating potential setbacks, obstacles, and losses before they happen. The Stoics didn't believe in blind optimism. They believed in prepared optimism. If you rehearse in your mind how you will respond to a rude comment, a sudden financial setback, or an unexpected failure, you remove the shock factor when it arrives. It's not about expecting doom, but about building readiness so that when the storm comes, you are already dressed for the rain. Third, embrace the dichotomy of control. This is perhaps the crown jewel of Stoic thinking. The world is full of variables. Other people's choices, the weather, the economy, your reputation, your health. The Stoics divided reality into two categories: things within your control and things outside of it. Your thoughts, actions, values, and chosen attitude belong to the first group. Everything else belongs to the second. The Stoic way is to invest your full effort into the first group and to release the second with equanimity. This is not passivity, it is efficiency. By refusing to waste emotional energy on what you cannot change, you free that same energy for what you can change. Applying these tools consistently transforms you from a reactive participant in life to an intentional creator of your experience. You begin to see challenges not as interruptions, but as training opportunities. Frustration turns into a signal for growth. Disappointment becomes a classroom. Even grief, though still deeply felt, is accompanied by an inner stability. The Stoics were not superhuman. They faced anger, loss, and temptation just like anyone else. The difference is that they had a structured philosophy to meet those moments. If you integrate the view from above, premeditatio malorum, and the dichotomy of control into your daily life, you will not eliminate struggle, but you will redefine your relationship with it.
5. Owning your inner state. At the end of the day, no one can make you feel anything without your permission. This may sound radical because our culture teaches us to say, "You made me angry," or "You hurt my feelings." But the Stoics saw emotions as interpretations, not inevitabilities. External events are neutral. It is your mind that adds the labels of good, bad, hurtful, or unfair. This doesn't mean that pain or injustice aren't real. It means that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and that space belongs entirely to you. Owning your inner state is about radical responsibility. It's the act of saying, "This is mine to handle." If you are sad, own it. If you are furious, own it. If you are disappointed, own it. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying emotions. It means claiming them as your own, rather than handing the steering wheel to other people or circumstances. A person who truly owns their inner state does not wait for apologies to feel peace, does not wait for praise to feel worthy, and does not need the world to be perfect to feel calm. Consider the alternative. When you outsource your emotions to the behavior of others, you live in a permanent state of vulnerability. A stranger's rudeness can ruin your morning. A colleague's oversight can unravel your confidence. A single piece of bad news can paralyze you for days. This is a fragile way to live because it places your well-being in the hands of people who may not even be aware of their influence on you, or worse, people who may exploit that power. The Stoic path is to reverse that arrangement, so that your emotional stability rests on the only foundation you can truly control: yourself. Owning your inner state does not mean you become indifferent to the world. Quite the opposite. It allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength rather than reactivity. You can still fight injustice, mourn losses, and celebrate joys. But you do so with the awareness that your inner weather is self-regulated. This is not detachment, it is mastery. It's like being the captain of your own ship. You cannot control the sea, but you can control your sails, your course, and your response to the storms. When you reach this level of self-mastery, you stop being a slave to circumstances. You no longer live on the emotional roller coaster dictated by other people's moods or the randomness of life events. You cultivate an unshakable core, a steady center that remains calm even when the winds of chaos blow strongest. This is the freedom the Stoics cherished, the ability to live well not because life is easy, but even when it is hard. In this sense, owning your inner state is not just a personal achievement, it is an act of liberation, a declaration that you are no longer ruled by the outside world.
The real power was never out there in money, status, or control over others. The real power was always within you. The power to master yourself. The power to feel deeply, yet act wisely. The power to remain unshaken in a shaking world. Emotional control is not a gift, it's a skill. And like any skill, it grows with practice. Start today. Start with one pause, one deep breath, one decision to respond instead of react. And remember, if you want more insights like this to strengthen your mind, subscribe and join this community of people who choose mastery over chaos every single day.